First of all, I'm a believer in God. I can't explain the trees, the animals, the birds. I can't explain the fact that I have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms, 2 legs, lungs, and a heart that pumps blood throughout my body, and everything just works in perfect coordination. So there has to be a God. And I also rely on God for a lot as well. But when it comes to money, I think too many people rely on God too much. Here's what I mean. You have a lot of people who will talk about God in terms of they're going to pray and they're going to turn it over to God and put it at God's feet. God's going to work it out because he's an awesome God and he always delivers on time, right? But I don't think it works that way in all cases, particularly when it comes to money. I think that when God blesses you with certain financial blessings, that he is expecting you to pull a lot of the heavy weight. And too often people view that as, well, that's just one part of the blessing that you gave me, God. You still got work to do. And sometimes I think that God is just dealing with other crises around the world. And, he has a lot to cover on his plate. According to the U.S. Census, there are about 38 million people currently living in poverty in the U.S. And I'm not talking about people who just became impoverished last week. We're talking about people who have been impoverished for years and decades, and in some cases, generations. A lot of these people are God-fearing, church-going, praying people. And they constantly pray to God that you deliver them from their financial hardships or bless them with money and so forth. But yet, year after year, decade after decade, and in some cases, generation after generation, they still struggle with their finances and struggle with managing their money. So why am I telling you this? Because I was watching a video the other day where a guy was being interviewed by a host who was a financial guru, I guess you would say. And the guy was talking about his struggles with his money and finances and so forth. But the guy had an interesting story. It's because he had saved money or came across some money some kind of way. He had invested money in his sister's business. And the business blew up, right? The business was successful. His cut of the profits from the business was like $300,000 a year. So he was passively earning about $300,000 a year for his ownership in the business. He was, very thankful to God about blessing him, with the money and so forth. So I could tell that he was sort of a religious guy because he was using references to God a lot. Apparently this guy lived in an affluent area of Florida, and he had a new home. Him and his wife had a couple of nice cars, and I think he had 2 young children. And he was on this podcast because he was talking about like financial struggles and stuff like that. And the main thing that I took from this guy, because he didn't give any other alternatives about what he was going to do to improve his finances, neither did the guy who was interviewing him. And basically all he talked about was that God was going to bless him, that he was going to pray to God and turn it over to God, and God was going to deliver him from, whatever financial struggles that he was going to have, and God was going to give him a path to set him on the right track and so forth. And again, they didn't talk about any other alternatives in terms of what the guy could do better to be better at managing his money. And I'll admit, I felt a certain kind of way about that because I'm thinking like, damn, bro, God has blessed you with $300,000 a year of passive income that you don't even have to actively participate in the business to earn. And yet you're sitting here telling me that you are going to pray to God and God's going to come up with the plan. He's going to help you get over your financial struggles and so forth. I mean, I think God has done a lot of the heavy lifting already. I think he's waiting on you to do the other part. How about picking up a few books and just learning more about financial education? How about listening to all of the videos on financial education that are out there and all of the different podcasts that you can listen to? How about doing that instead of just saying that you're going to pray and leave it up to God and God was going to deliver this great financial plan for you? Because again, I did not hear the guy talk about any of the things that he was going to do to be better financially. I actually think that it's disrespectful to God and kind of lazy that somebody's going to place at God's feet, delivering them a financial plan when God has already blessed them with the finances. You have to be an active participant in your finances. I simply do not believe that praying to God to deliver you a financial plan for your life after he's blessed you with money is the way to go. I think God is looking for you to be that active participant in your own life and managing your own money. He gave you the money, so he's expecting you to be a good steward of that money. And that means that you just got to pick up a book and, educate yourself. You got to get around people who understand money. Sometimes you might have to even pay for financial advice. So one way or another, it's up to you to get it done and manage your money. There's nothing else in life that you can do that you don't have to be an active participant, but you get this great outcome. For example, you can't get married, right, and have a wonderful marriage if you're going to be a non-participant in the marriage. You're not going to hang out with your wife. You're not going to be nice to her. You're not going to do anything kind for her. No, it's not going to turn out well. You can't be a great parent if you're going to say, hey, I'm not going to spend time with my kids. I'm not going to teach them anything. I'm just going to basically hand over a check every month, and then I'm just going to expect my kids to turn out healthy and great and also be great parents when they grow up. You can't start a business and expect it to reflect your vision, but yet you're going to be a non-participant in the business and you're going to turn it all over to other people, and you're going to expect this business to still operate and reflect your vision. As I mentioned earlier, I simply do not believe that God is going to issue blessings to people and he's not going to have any expectations of you at all. That basically it's going to all be done for you. No, I believe that when God blesses you, he is expecting you to carry some weight. If God didn't have any expectations of individuals to have any responsibility for self, then everybody would just be praying for stuff and asking God to just hand it over to me, and they just got their feet kicked up and just enjoying the good life. And it's very clear that that's not the case, because as I mentioned, you have people who are 70, 80 years old who are devout Christians. They go to church every Sunday and during the week, and they pray constantly for God to deliver them from their financial struggles and to show them a path forward. But yet they've been that way their entire life, and they're still that way currently. So obviously then praying about stuff and just expecting God to deliver it to you is simply just not a solution that I think works. Now, I know that people who come across this video are probably going to say, man, this dude is a non-believer, but that couldn't be far from the truth. As I mentioned, I believe in God. I rely on God. But when it comes to money, I understand that God has blessed me, and that's why I'm doing my part to financially educate myself, to be a good steward of the money that he's blessed me with, and to teach my kids the same thing, because I don't believe that I should just, pray and place that at God's feet. I guess I'll stop right now with my preaching on this subject before I offend some people out there. But if you found something of value from this video, please like and share. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Be safe out here in these social media streets.